Announcements, please. Workers of Valco earlier this week went on strike. They wanted an increase in their salaries of about 30%, but they met with their management and reduced it to about 18%. But their bosses said they can't pay them that amount and they can only offer them less. And the workers are not happy with it at all. Let's find out their concern.
At a crunch meeting with management of Valco in the evening of Monday, November 16, the leadership of the workers who had made a final proposal of 18% increment to the salaries of workers were rather offered 6% by management, a development which infuriated the leadership, hence the demonstration and subsequent strike on Tuesday morning. Leadership of the disgruntled workers in an address on the premises of Valco assured the workers that they will not accept the 6% salary increment proposal from management of the company. Meanwhile, workers are calling for the management to be removed and a board put in place immediately, as there has not been a board in place to steer the affairs of the company for some time now.
Did you hear about the fire at Odon market during the week? It was such a sad sight too. Imagine these market women standing there and watch all their hard-earned money blow up there in flames and their properties all destroyed. I hear most of them too went for loans to start their business too. So how are they going to pay their monies back? And there was one sad one too about a seamstress who are going to take a gig from a client who's supposed to get married over the weekend. Now all the clothes are bent. What's going to happen to their wedding? But thankfully, the president says that help will come their way from the NBS side. Hopefully they won't be able to bounce back. Where's my match spread?
Hundreds of traders at the Odon market woke up to the news that a fire had burned down their goods. Some traders who had stocked up new items in preparation for the Christmas season had nothing but ashes in place of where their shops once stood. Those who have recently secured loans to run their businesses are pleading with the government to come to their rescue. They spoke to Citi News' Caleb Kuda.
No, million to discount 7,000. I'm going to make you 4. The baby asked me about Kukula. Beautician, Michelle Nielsen, pedicure, and Miss Animal. What do you mean? It's also what you will see out here. I try. I do 4,000. Yeah. What made you movie? I said I met you 2 pay. You mamunya, and I had you man 1 day near the pay. Yes. See, I bread word you man when then so be Raphael. So everybody betting how I say, Janaya now, so but another day I bay dear. Ya fashy flower has it. The name she am for people. Some say, Mumma Boye. Maybe 20 million. 2,000. What made you movie? That bill, I think I started business. Maybe oh, maybe I dress a medical fine near my shop.
Beyond losing their shops to the fire, most of the market women also shared that their shops were not insured. Speaking to Citi Business News, Head of Supervision at the National Insurance Commission, Seth Ishon, said that his outfit is in talks with the local authorities across the country to enable them determine which commercial centers are fit for operation. According to him, commercial buildings, including outlets and structures for markets, will henceforth only be granted operation permits if they are given the needed clearance from the National Insurance Commission. He believes that such a move is necessary to reduce to the barest minimum the occurrence of fire outbreaks at commercial centers in the country.
We are in discussions with the local authorities, and one of the purposes that we want to achieve in those discussions is to get the state input before they give any license for any commercial business to go. They will check if that building or if that space do it, especially for our market, be a solution. So these are very early discussions, but it's one of the key things that we seek to do to help protect. And what would happen is that markets that are not very safe would have higher premiums, and markets that are safe will have lower premiums. And that will be an added advantage to ensure that the markets that are there have the right safety measures.
Thankfully, President Nadu Dankwa Akufo-Addo has asked the National Board for Small-Scale Industries boss, Kosi Yankee, to support over 3,000 persons affected by the fire within 2 weeks.
So we are looking at providing some support to the women and men who have lost their products through the fire.
How soon is that going to be?
Within the next week, we'll start putting things in place. By tomorrow, we've worked with the MCE to ensure he has a database of all of them. So immediately we'll work with him to ensure that they get something within the week or two.
So the sooner that can be done, the better.
Sure. Yes, Mr. President.
Oh, this is really sad. Yes.
What?
First of all, fortunately now the fire has been contained. They identify who the people are, and then we will see what government can do to begin the process of rehabilitating the people. A decision has been made to rewire all the markets in Accra, and obviously this will be a beginning. So we keep the people informed about the steps the government is taking, and then we'll see what comes out of it. It's a big tragedy.
Christmas finally came alive for customers of Black Shield Fund Management, formerly Gold Coast Fund Management Company. You know, a couple of weeks ago, they actually besieged the premises of Citi FM and Citi TV with a petition in a bid to get their monies paid them. I don't know what role that act actually played in government's decision to finally change their minds and pay them a part of their money. Well, how many days is it to elections again? Who am I to say? But at least for these customers, they can finally now heave a sigh of relief because they'll be getting up to 50,000 Ghana cedis of their money. Remember me this Christmas, yeah?
A statement issued by the Securities and Exchange Commission said the customers will be paid while the court process on the liquidation petition and other matters continue. The statement also noted that the decision to make this partial payment is predicated on government's commitment to protect its citizens. SEC also stated that this intervention has become necessary at this stage because liquidation petitions for the remaining affected fund management companies are currently at different stages. The partial bailout, which covers a total of 92,460 claims filed against the remaining 27 fund management companies, includes customers of Black Shield Fund Management Company Limited. The defunct fund management company accounts for a total of 92% of claims. The partial bailout being offered would result in 89% and 82% of affected individuals and pensioners being fully settled respectively. The partial bailout, according to the statement, will be channeled through the Amalgamated Fund Ghana Limited, the same special purpose vehicle being used to pay the clients of the fund management companies currently under official liquidation. Amalgamated Fund Ghana Limited is managed by GCB Capital Limited, a subsidiary of GCB Bank Limited. Customers are being admonished to visit www.bailout.rgd.gov.gh for the latest update on the bailout situation. Meanwhile, it clarified that the customers will receive their remaining balances after court processes are concluded. After demonstrating and calling for payment of their monies on multiple occasions after the licenses of the fund management companies they invested with were revoked by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the coalition of aggrieved customers of the collapsed fund management companies welcomed the government's directive to the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) for a partial bailout to be provided to affected customers of fund management companies that are not under official liquidation. Speaking to Citi Business News, Secretary of the coalition Joseph Aiti said government needs to go a step further to simplify the payment process and also ensure that persons who urgently need more money are giving special attention.
It looks like government and the SEC have listened to a lot of the concerns that we've been raising, except that I might point out that this is coming really late in the day, especially when over 368 of our members have lost their life as a result of this crisis we find ourselves. Okay, so this is a clear case of money cannot buy life. Are you okay? So life first before money. Okay, so fine, it's good government are listening to us and has taking this decision. Our point clearly is that we don't need to continue in this trajectory. You will agree with me that we don't need to continue losing more lives as a result of this. So if government is going to give an intervention, and the intervention would not necessarily solve this crisis that we find ourselves, government needs to review and rethink the strategy to make sure that people who are in real need will be met at their point of need. I think that is what is most of a major concern for us. We are saying that the process is too laborious. SEC, what we are looking at, they can really simplify the process further. All that we want them to do is that they should look at the process and simplify it further, so that latest by the end of November, payment can commence. We are hoping that payments will commence by the end of November, and we believe that that is a fair deal if really they are sincere with the kind of support that they want to give to the customers.
A breakdown of the distribution of the recently issued 50,000 Ghana cedis reveals that all individuals below 60 years will get up to 70,000 Ghana cedis, or 20% of their validated claims in Tier 1. All pensioners of 60 years and above will get all their validated claims in Tier 1. Also, all schools, faith-based organizations, and hospitals will get all their claims in Tier 1. All financial institutions will get 50% of their validated claims. Welfare institutions, credit unions, and unions will get 50% of their validated claims, while all other claimants will get 20% of their validated claims in Tier 1. In an interview with Citi Business News at the sidelines of a Time with the Commission event, Director General of the SEC, Reverend Daniel Ogbodu Tete, said customers must follow the due processes to access their funds.
From tomorrow, 20th of November, our agent would share the claim IDs with the affected clients. You receive your claim ID. Then you go to the site www.bailout.rgd.gov.gh. You go to that site with your claim ID. You put it in. It will also ask you for your mobile number. Then it will let you also see the validated amount. It's not a different process. We are actually trying to mimic what typically happens in the asset management space, and so I think people shouldn't get anxious. I know when people have waited for a while, there's that bit of anxiety, but it's not anything that should let people be frightened or be wondering will it happen. It's just following through the process.
He further cautioned customers to stay clear of any entity such as P-Bay Limited that claims it can help them access their funds, saying government does not need any facilitator in giving the funds to the customers.
My job is to let the affected investors of these fund management companies to know that SEC hasn't mandated P-Bay or Pay-Bay to be a facilitator. Indeed, government bailout doesn't require any facilitation and any facilitation fee. The bailout, as we have put it, is predicated on two conditions being fulfilled. The liquidation order is granted by the courts, and then the claims are validated. Once that is done, you will be taken through the onboarding process by the fund manager, that's GCL, and that's it.
Acting Deputy Executive Director in charge of Intelligence and Monitoring at IYOCO, Abba Opoku, says all those who are responsible for the collapse of the institutions will not go unpunished.
The persons who have, or perpetrators who have by their activity caused this negative impact on the capital markets and in the financial sector should be made to right the wrongs and put back or pay back whatever has gone against innocent people who have put their life savings in investments. And we are expecting that we should prosecute these matters based on the authority granted by the Attorney General.
If you were part of those accusing Cocobod of money laundering, fraud and the likes, please stop it. Management of the company say they don't like that at all, especially because they say the story is not true. You know, there was this news making the rounds about the CEO of Cocobod awarding a contract worth about $7 billion to a relative. Now, the basis of this accusation was the fact that the awarder and the awardee of the contract share the same surname. But management of Cocobod says their CEO does not share the same DNA with the person that the contract was awarded to. So, please stop.
Cocobod has rejected accusations that its contract with AgriPlus Horizon Farm Limited for the supply of insecticide was riddled in. Documents reportedly released by the Financial Intelligence Center, FIC, and purportedly sent to the special prosecutor claimed that Cocobod awarded the contract to the company by sole sourcing for the procurement of 75,000 liters of Transform Akati insecticide at a price of $103.5 per liter, amounting to a total of about $7.8 million. AgriPlus Horizon Farm Limited is said to have given a subcontract to Aidis Holding Limited, another company said to be owned by Joseph Seth Adu Jr., son of the Chief Executive Officer of Cocobod, Mr. Joseph Adu. The statement further explained the reason for the alleged sole sourcing of the contract, indicating that a company that holds the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana, CREG's certificate for a particular product, has proprietary right in the product, and consequently Cocobod can procure the product from only that company, and in this case was AgriPlus Horizon Farm Limited. It clarified that approval was sought from the Public Procurement Authority to procure the products, among others, through the sole sourcing method for its operations. Speaking to Citi News, Head of Public Affairs of Cocobod, Fifi Boafo, said the claims in the said publication are untrue.
Case of Transform Akati, the company that owns the certificate to the product is AgriPlus Horizon Farm Limited. So Cocobod bought the product from that company. No other underhand dealing or other consideration was taken into consideration procuring the product. So we find it extremely worrying that such a report will be made and the kind of conclusion that is being bandied around. The more worrying aspect of the whole story circulating in the media is the talk about the chief executive being related to the owner of that company. Let me put on record, that is not true. It is factually inaccurate. It is untrue because the person we are talking about, the chief executive of Ghana Cocobod, Honorable Joseph Bailout, comes from Wassa Francier in the Western region. The gentleman who owns this company, I understand, comes from Asante Mampong. That's where the mother comes from. The father comes from Begro. So how did he become a relative or a family member of Honorable Joseph Bailout? The most troubling part of this whole discussion is the fact that a state institution is being quoted as the source of such a document. It's unfathomable that a state institution will do an investigation and come to a conclusion that the mere fact, just the mere fact that two people share the same name, it means that they are related. That is troubling.
Telling Ghana's business stories. Citi TV brings you a dedicated business news bulletin that showcases the business temperature of the country in one go. The business dashboard, the markets, industry, and policies that affect the way we do business. All covered in one bulletin. The business dashboard, 7 p.m. every weeknight on Citi TV. Ghana goes to the polls on December 7th, and Citi TV gets to work. From 6 a.m. on December 7th, bringing you all the action and reports, with our correspondents covering all 275 constituencies. Be assured of exhaustive and definitive coverage of Ghana's 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. Our team of seasoned journalists will dissect the issues and give minute-by-minute account of the election. Bernard Avler, Vivian Kai Loko, Kojo Akoto Boateng, Nathan Kwao, Frema Edrinyame, Abena Nyameche Ampedu, Salom Adonu, Umaru Sanda Amadou, Zoe Abu Beju, Duke Mensa Opoku, Nana Tufo, the Election Bureau, Ghana's election covered. Coverage starts at 6 a.m. on December 7th on Citi TV and 97.3 Citi FM.
If you're planning of traveling outside the country, remember to budget an extra $150 for your COVID-19 test when you're returning into the country. Now that is equivalent to about 800 Ghana cedis. But I'm wondering though, so imagine you're a family of 5 and you are returning to the country. It means that you have to put aside in excess of about 4,000 Ghana cedis. Now that's not chicken chips, so it's a lot of money. The more reason why the Chamber of Tourism Industry Ghana believes that government must slash the money down as much as possible, especially even for tourists. We know how much difference they make for our local tourism industry. So we hope that the government will listen to them and fix this soon.
All passengers coming to Ghana by air are required to pay $150 for a 30-minute PCR COVID-19 test. This began after the Kotoka International Airport was opened to international traffic on September 1, 2020, after being closed in March 2020 because of the coronavirus pandemic. Despite comparisons to cheaper tests in other countries and calls for a reduction in Ghana, a Deputy Minister for Health, Dr. Bernard Cocobod, defended the $150 being charged so far at the Kotoka International Airport, saying even though there are cheaper ones, they are not able to point out those who are active with the virus. But in a response to a question by Citi Business News at the signing ceremony of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Government of Ghana and the African Development Bank Group for the hosting of the annual meetings of the AFDB Group from May 24 to May 28, 2021, Secretary General of the AFDB Group, Professor Vincent Inmehili, said the charge, which is exorbitant, is a hindrance to the goal of free movement of goods and people on the continent.
The African Continental Free Trade Area is in Ghana, the headquarters. Of course, that is one aspect, Africa trading with itself. The other aspects are a lot of things, including the free movement. In fact, Honorable Minister, that brings me to my encounter at the airport that I have to pay $150 to do a COVID test. It was scary for me as I came through, and I said, that's really going to hamper a lot of free movement. It's very exorbitant, if you ask me. I just came from South Africa where I did a COVID test of less than $10. And so I really wonder what that means for, I have a family of 7. So if we're coming to Ghana, each and every one of us will pay $150. I'm not sure that I want to come, but I love Ghana so much that I want to come. So something needs to be done.
So far, the more than 30,000 passengers who traveled by flight into Ghana following the reopening of the Kotoka International Airport some 10 weeks ago have undergone COVID-19 testing, with over 90 testing positive. Meanwhile, the Chamber of Tourism Industry Ghana is calling for persons who come into the country bearing tourist visas to be exempted from paying the $150 for the COVID-19 test. According to the Chamber, this would help in encouraging higher patronage of the country and in the long run boost patronage of tourist sites. The tourism sector has been one of the worst hit sectors since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. But as part of the government's measures towards preventing a spread of the pandemic, it introduced a mandatory PCR test for passengers of all airlines coming into Ghana. Speaking to Citi Business News, Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Prince Ntiamwa Bwampong, whose outfit has opposed a $150 fee, indicated that the relief would help contribute significantly to the country's ailing tourism industry.
The update of the COVID protocols by the Ghana Airport Company, we at the Chamber for Tourism still feel that something can be done about it. There were some few exemptions they made, that children under 5 years will not do the COVID test. Children between the ages of 5 and 12, the government will pay for their COVID test. to us, these are great exemptions. But we could have also added that people coming in with tourist visas can also come through for free. That will also go a long way to encourage the tourism sector that is hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. So at Chamber for Tourism, we are saying that the people coming with tourist visas must be allowed to enter the country also for free. The government will bear the cost of the COVID-19 test. The reason is simple. We want to promote the tourism sector. The year of return was a strategy, a marketing strategy that was successful. Beyond the return can only be successful when we employ some of these strategies. So we think that when we're able to achieve this feat, it will go a long way to help the tourism sector.
You've heard it for yourself. Now, to justify the position of the Tourism Chamber, let's now hear from business folks here at the Art Center. A large number of their clients are tourists, and you know that they've taken a major hit with the outbreak of the pandemic. And so now that they are trying to bounce back, they say this $150 fee is not encouraging tourists to come into the country. And the Christmas season is their peak period for sales, so they are hoping that it will be reduced soon. One of them even suggested that $50 won't be a bad idea,
On September 1st, 2020, President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo lifted the ban he placed on air travels in and out of Ghana 5 months earlier, but made it mandatory for travelers to pay $150 for a rapid COVID-19 test at the Kotoka International Airport, in addition to a negative COVID-19 test taken 72 hours prior to their travel. Many have raised concerns about the high cost of the fees. Matilda Pra and other artisans at the Arts Center, one of Ghana's top shopping hubs for tourists, say that the $150 fee has prevented tourists from coming into the country, thereby affecting their sales and revenue.
Nowadays, they are not buying anything. People are not coming, do you understand? Because it affects every business in Ghana, especially those that we are in handicraft, dresses, and those kind of things. Do you understand? People are not coming. Every day you come and sit here and you pack up and go home. And we have families that we're supposed to feed them. Some of us, we are single parents. So how are we going to cope with this kind of thing? Please. So we are pleading to the government to come to our aid and do something about that issue in airports, please.
Mutala Yakubu says he has not experienced the kind of hardship he has gone through this year in his 40 years of trading.
And we are very, very, very hungry because customers are not coming because of the corona. And yet, the price that the government too has put on the arrival of the foreigners is affecting our business. And we wish that the government will try to reduce the price for them so that it will enable them to come to our foreigners. Because our business is, yes, as I will say, our business is for tourism. It's tourism. We demand more people to come inside the country. When the foreigners come in, they appreciate our goods, and then we also make our bread out of it.
Though relatively young in the business, Isaac Ahmed says he and his suppliers from other parts of the continent have been struggling due to the $150 COVID-19 rapid test.
Yeah, this coronavirus gives us a lot of problems, especially with that we deal in art and craft dealers. We have a lot of problems. Why? Because tourists are not coming. Still up to now, some of the borders are not open. The airlines are not coming, so it affects us a lot. We are facing problems.
All these artisans believe the fee has served as an impediment for tourists, directly impacting their sales potential this year.
Somebody is coming to you and then he's going to pay his arrival, will pay a lot of, money, as $150. $150 in Ghana here is almost 75 million. And if he can use this 75 million to buy some goods, and when he buy it, maybe 2, 3, or 4 people will benefit from it, and another person will also do it. So when they come in and they buy, we benefit, and when we benefit, we appreciate. If we don't benefit, we don't appreciate. See, so.
Because I have a customer that they want to come Ghana, but they ask me, they are still paying that money. Then we say yes. They say if not, so they can't come. So we are pleading to government to bring it down, maybe $50 or $60, so that everybody can come.
People are not coming. People are not coming because, now everybody is afraid of this sickness. So they are not coming. Even the people that they are coming, the charge that they are charging in the airport, is too much. They are not supposed to charge that amount. We need people to come and patronize our business. Business is falling down. Do you understand me? And the people that they are coming, people that they are interested to come back home and spend holidays with their family, they are charging them one for 150 Ghana cedi, $150. It's too much.
At about this time last year, the country was filled with a lot of tourists who had come to partake in the many events that were organized as part of government's Year of Return program. But this year, due to the coronavirus pandemic, a new one couldn't be organized. However, government says it has put in place measures to help some of these tourists in diaspora send money into the country and resources to invest. Let's find the details of that in this video.
New data from the central bank indicates that the number of Ghanaians living abroad ranges between 1.5 million and 3 million. Also, remittances from Ghanaians in the diaspora through formal channels have averaged $2 billion per year in recent times. These figures demonstrate the potential of the diaspora as a source of foreign direct investment, which needs to be harnessed. As part of efforts to increase foreign direct investment into the country, Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta says government's plan to raise funds from the diaspora for the development of the country is on course. He says the plan will facilitate government's capital expenditure investments and seek to accelerate economic growth. He spoke on the sidelines of the Diaspora Business Breakfast meeting organized by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, and the Beyond the Return Secretariat.
So when we look at the private sector, there's certainly domestic, there's international, and then there is the diasporan, which also includes, African Americans who have a homeland to be with. Now, what this is going to call for, we have looked at various ways of trying to do this bond. There have been various experiences in Nigeria and in Kenya, and it has been sort of underwhelming in terms of the amount of resources they've been able to mobilize, though India and Israel have done very well. So it sounds to us that we need to be a little bit more innovative than we have been before. And when we look at, let's say, the African Americans in the States, and you look at what is happening now with regards to retirement pensions, this is a period for them in which the largest number of African Americans are getting federal pensions.
The first Diaspora Business Breakfast meeting was aimed at harnessing the network of opportunities within the diaspora. Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, says the ongoing work on the diaspora engagement policy will create the right business environment for foreigners operating in the country.
So formulating the diaspora policy, the diaspora policy, and it includes quite a number of things. But we are also taking examples from globally. There are many examples: Israel, China, even the United States itself, Philippines, Indonesia. There are many countries that offer different propositions, and we want to get the best of both worlds. But at the end of the day, it must be mutually beneficial, it must be culturally beneficial, and it must be transformational for us.
The coronavirus pandemic really affected not just businesses, but the economy in general. Now, as part of government's recovery plan for the economy, it has made available 100 billion Ghana cedis for businesses that were impacted by the pandemic to help them recover. I'm sure you business folks out there are interested to know the details of this story. Let's find out together, shall we?
In a bid to pursue an aggressive process of rebuilding the Ghanaian economy due to the devastating impact of COVID-19, government in July announced the setting up of the 100 billion Ghana Cedi Development Program, known as the Coronavirus Alleviation Revitalization of Enterprises Support Program. The initiative, which is also known as the Obatampa Program, is aimed at transforming the economy from its current state and also cushion all sectors that have been hardly hit by the coronavirus pandemic. The program will be in 2 phases. The first phase will build on the actions already taken by government under the Coronavirus Alleviation Program, while the second phase aims at revitalizing and transforming the economy from 2021 to 2023. Speaking at the launch on Wednesday on behalf of President Akufo-Addo, Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Maafo stated that the program is a Ghana Beyond Aid in action.
The pandemic creates an opportunity for us to remodel and build the wealthy, inclusive, sustainable, empowered, and resilient Ghana, a wiser Ghana, which is the goal of Ghana Beyond Aid. A Ghana that is prosperous enough to stand on its own feet. A Ghana that is beyond the dependence of charity of others to cater for the needs of its people. The COVID-19 pandemic has sharply reminded us all the wisdom of this cause, the Ghana Beyond Aid. The 100 billion Ghana Cares Obatampa program is Ghana Beyond Aid in action. We expect growth to rebound strongly in 2021 at 5.7% as a result of implementation of the transformation and revitalization phase of Ghana Cares Obatampa program in 2020.
On his part, Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta reiterated the call for the full engagement of private sector partners, both international and domestic, to fully implement this program.
Billion Ghana cedis, 25% of our GDP. The timing of implementation during a pandemic continued to perplex the cynics. However, we know our Lord will give us success, as He did in the times of Nehemiah and has done for us since we came into government in 2017. To fully implement this program, we also need the full engagement of our private sector partners, international and domestic. We've already signaled that 70% of the financing will be sought from the private sector. Government will do its utmost to create the most conducive business environment for them to invest, create jobs, and thrive.
Election 2020, Ghana makes a choice. Tracking and bringing reports of the presidential and parliamentary campaigns across the length and breadth of this nation.
Analyzing campaign activities and election data with our panelists on the Voters' Diary.
The Voters' Diary is the most factual, instructive, and balanced election 2020 analysis program on television.
The Voters' Diary every weekday on Citi TV from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Stay informed on all the relevant issues on election 2020.
Tune into the Voters' Diary. It's Ghana's choice.
Comprehensive news. Your Citi newsroom at 8 p.m. on Citi TV is your most engaging news bulletin on TV.
It's a very oh, that's too bad. The youth are still throwing stones. They are still throwing stones here into our direction. And can I come in? I want to come in. Okay.
Telling your stories better with correspondents covering every corner of the country.
Getting access to potable water is a daily struggle for residents of Kakichekopi and Balekopi communities in the Ada East district of the Greater Accra region.
Citi Newsroom at 8 p.m. Very fluent with issues that concern you.
This is quite a Mr. Rabbi. Someone is here. Told you kind of 1 week. What do you say?
Is it unfair? What all this? What all this? We are dying! We are dying! We are dying for talk!
With Citi Newsroom, your community is now connected.
In this our community,
All of us, we are very sorry of this school. If we went to see the children, they are so small. Even my grandchildren are there. My glass outside there. If they come out from the school, how would you say?
Every day at 8 p.m., City Newsroom is live on Citi TV.
There's been a lot of meetings being held in the country as part of preparations for the launch of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, AfCFTA, which takes off next year in January. Now, the AfCFTA agreement is basically creating an enabling environment that African countries can do business amongst themselves without barriers like visas, duties, and the likes. And you know, Ghana is hosting the Secretariat. So we are bringing you highlights of some of the meetings that have been held and what they were all about.
Well, we believe it's very realistic. That is why we are going around all the 16 regions. If you look carefully, and you will see from the analysis we've done, the analysis that have been looked at, the opportunity map as you look at Africa, we know what it is they're buying, we know what it is they're importing. We've done an analysis of what is Ghana is capable of doing, what we're doing currently, and that has all been encapsulated in our National Export Development Strategy, where we have clearly outlined, analyzed, and put figures along each of the products, I repeat, products, not raw materials, that we at Ghana are very well positioned to take advantage of. So the analysis is based on science, detailed research, and knowing the opportunity. But what is clear, and it's something we need to be very clear on, this is not a program that is going to be, the execution will be supported by government, but as a private sector that will make the garments, that will make the processed cashew, that will make the processed oil palm, and sell into the marketplace, not the government of Ghana. So that is why we're going around every part of this country, sharing detail about what? About the opportunities and empowering, as we've said, giving the tools to our private sector. Today we're in Takrady, Western region, for them to take their place. And already, by the way, in Western region, there are a number of them doing that. For instance, we have a company here called Keda. Keda is making ceramic tiles from clay. It's already exported to 11 African countries. And in the future, it has plans to go on even further. If you look at Europe, if you look at North America, if you look at Asia, in average, over 60% of all the trade they do is with themselves. In Africa, we are 15 to 17%, 1.5 to 1.7%. It tells you that in reality, it is easier to trade with your neighbors than it is to trade with somebody 6,000 kilometers away.
From November 16, 2020 to November 20, 2020, preparatory meetings for the commencement of trading under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area were held in Accra, Ghana. Among the stakeholders who have been meeting in person, as well as via virtual means, are heads of customs authorities, as well as technical experts on trade across the continent. The meeting was held to fashion out the critical things needed to ensure the AfCFTA starts in January. Secretary General of the AfCFTA, Wamkelemene, explains the importance of this week's meetings.
Today, the ministers will receive those recommendations. They will discuss the recommendations. They will discuss the proposals that have been put to them, and then they will adopt them. We will then transmit those recommendations to the heads of states, the Assembly of Heads of States, which will convene on the 5th of December. It will unfortunately convene virtually. And this summit on the 5th of December is an extraordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of States on implementation of the AfCFTA. So this meeting is very critical because all the recommendations, the outcomes of this meeting will ultimately reach the heads of states, and the heads of states will adopt them, we hope, and will be able to advise and direct on how we start trading from the 1st of January.
On his part, Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Tremontaine, cautioned that all the efforts invested into advancing the cause of the AfCFTA
will become fruitless if stakeholders do not focus on operationalizing the AfCFTA on the ground. He made the remarks at the third and final meeting of the AfCFTA Council of Ministers in Accra, just 6 weeks from the commencement of the continent-wide agreement, which the World Bank believes could boost regional income by $450 billion if implemented fully. While commending respective ministers from across the continent for the work done so far, Mr. Tremantin said it is now time to move away from the rhetoric of the AfCFTA and for an interrogation to the relevant things that will see trading happening on the ground from January next year.
And go beyond the rhetoric and interrogate the conditions that would bring us to a point where we can confidently say that the CFTA is actually working. And I'd like to make a few suggestions in this regard. First, we have to create awareness among the regulatory authorities, including the customs, standards, and immigration authorities of all state parties. Secondly, we have to create awareness among our economic operators, including producers, exporters, importers, the logistics industry in our various countries, and then the trade support institutions. These are the agents who would make the CFTA work on the ground. And if there's no awareness, we cannot harvest the benefits of the CFTA.
In election years, a lot of businesses make a lot of money. Examples are souvenir and political paraphernalia makers, car rental companies, and hotels. But it looks like this year, sales isn't really booming for car rental companies in the Ashanti region, and they're blaming it on the coronavirus pandemic. But how is that even possible? Let's find out in this video.
Election periods in Ghana opened doors for a number of businesses, including the business of t-shirts printing, the printing of flyers, souvenirs, as well as the patronage of cars from car rental businesses by politicians for their campaign tours. As Ghana is expected to go to the polls in the next few weeks, some of these businesses are seeking to boost their operations. The business of car rental is particularly expected to boom, but that has so far not been the case, as some managers of car rental businesses in Kumasi complain of low patronage, which they say is heavily affecting their operation. A visit by Citi Business News to some car rental businesses showed that many of their cars were parked and waiting to be patronized. Persons who are into car rental businesses say they were hoping their businesses would be revived as a result of the challenges they faced during the lockdown period, which was compounded by the closure of borders and the shutdown of the airports that saw their businesses almost collapsing. But they say they have not witnessed any significant change.
Within a week, we have 22 cars now in our midst, okay? Within a week, we can rent 15 of the cars out, okay? And before the COVID, we were making 10,000 per each car at the end of the month.
Before yare no na yare na eye na adwuma no eye kakra we fancy week ni bi ho ultimi ko be say 4 and I said 3 week ni mu nyina what me ko be 3 and 4 so hunti na we dey no ye ka na a day nipa ne fa a day nipa ne fa ka na a day nti no ebi a week no obitimi akọ 4 and 3 e go on so obitimi for the whole week but yare ne start say ano ye buy na ano ye dey ne dey say untimi nko ba bia.
According to some managers Citi Business News spoke to, the months of August, September, October through to the end of every election period are mostly the period car rental companies experience shortage of their cars, as their cars are in high demand due to the activities from politicians to aid in their campaign tours when they visit their respective constituencies.
2016 was very good. I think by 2016, 4 years ago by now, we were having shortage of cars even, and now all the cars are there. No one is moving as of 2016.
Aren't the politicians coming?
No. for now, nobody is coming. Like 4 years ago, by now, all our cars were being booked. But for now, we having difficulties in even booking 2-3 cars or something like that.
Say, any area no crana can see Kabikram no Kasenkranka Unyame because it do election time now. Yana, Yajumano, Esorepa, but see, I didn't know, say, campaign no, and Kosu to say, yes, be a chum, last 4 years, a chum.
They, however, raised a concern regarding politicians overworking their drivers whenever they patronize them. According to Fosu Kwabra, a chief driver for Alarmed Air car rentals, such issues usually cause accidents when the drivers are exhausted but stay on the road.
Ayana politicians no, do maybe a more pentem, and nomina dintino, campaign tab near the no pententino, and my drivers no yakwan rest. Oh, go out him until the whole night. I could do baby or you know, driver no yes, mano, quaha, braha, unyakwan na. Umuye ano asansim. And people a bit 3 days no neither. So, intino, and no idea be a cosopa, and I be a Sabiana accident. No BCCC as a British Biacunia accident, no money at them.
Meanwhile, it appears it is not all doom and gloom, as one car rental business manager has revealed to Citi Business News on condition of anonymity that their business has seen a high patronage right from the beginning of the pandemic to date. According to him, the company has received some juicy offers from some corporate institutions as they have been transporting staff of some companies to and from work since the beginning of the pandemic.
These days, with the way the internet has become an integral part of our everyday lives, it also raises the concern about cybersecurity, especially now that we are able to make payments virtually and we are inputting our passwords every now and then in computers. We all have to be worried. Now, government says it's making some effort to address this problem, and it believes the establishment of a cybersecurity authority would help address this challenge.
Cybersecurity incidents have affected critical sectors of the country, including energy, telecommunications, and banking, which, if unchecked, can undermine the security and economy of the country. Parliament has passed the landmark Cybersecurity Act 2020 to protect people from fraudulent online transactions, as well as safeguard the country's digital space. Now more than ever, the internet has become a key facilitator of engagements for individual users, businesses, and governments across the globe. A number of initiatives have been implemented by the government through the Ministry of Communications to improve Ghana's cybersecurity developments. These include the revision of Ghana's national cybersecurity policy and strategy and the establishment of the National Cybersecurity Center. In an interview with Citi Business News, Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Defence and Interior, Seth Achampong, said the Cyber Regulatory Authority, once established, will further
ensure that all that we have done have necessarily been to the benefit of middle class or wealthy people. So we will get to that.
Tune in to The Point of View this and every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. as I, Bernard Avile, get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you.
When MBB came, because they were not putting money in the sinking fund,
they were not putting money in the sinking